Thanks very much. Well, it's great to be back in the chair. I was just saying that I missed the one in March, but Pretty did an absolutely excellent job. So if you didn't catch that, or you want to revisit those stories about building bridges, that's certainly now available on our website or on YouTube. But today, our theme is laughter. I gather, because I was invited to a session that involved quite a number of Indian feast members just over the weekend, that it was World Laughter Day very recently, possibly even last Sunday. And so our theme is laughter, which I think is very brave for the people that we have lined up to tell stories for you today, because, you know, one man's funny bone is just another man's tickled rib or something. So it's often not so much about there's a difference, isn't there, between a joke, which can certainly be a very short story, but jokes tend to have a punchline. Whereas when we try and tell stories, I think a lot of the humor can come from the way that we actually tell the story, even though the story itself may not particularly have any, a big belly laugh within it. So I'm going to be interested to see what it is that we have for you this evening, because I assure you it is as much a surprise for you as it is for us here. So we're going to start off. I'm delighted to welcome all the way from Hong Kong, Lesley Croft. Good to see you.
Oh, yes.
I think hopefully you'll be joining me on. There we go. That's good. Yep.
Okay.
Welcome. Is this your first time on a feast?
It is, yes.
Wonderful. Yes. Making your debut. That's fantastic. Now, normally at Hong Kong stories, they like to tell personal stories, isn't it?
Well, that's the rule, actually.
That's the rule. Okay.
Yes.
So are you going to be sharing a personal story today?
Yeah. So
okay.
First-person true story that's happened to me.
Oh my goodness me! Well, that's good. I'm glad we can laugh with you rather than cry. Over to you then, Lesley.
Okay. It's called "I'm Bad at Maths." I once read an article that said adults who say I'm really bad at maths have read that it's almost socially acceptable to say I'm really bad at maths, whereas it's not socially acceptable to say I can't string a sentence together. And those adults who say they're really bad at maths can usually pinpoint a moment where something happened that confirms their belief. And my moment was age 11, approaching the desk of Mr. Black, my maths teacher, to ask him a question. And as I stood by his desk and he went over the problem, I was distracted by construction work going on outside the classroom. And he looked up at me to see if I was taking it in and understanding, and saw that I was just looking at the bulldozers outside. He slammed my exercise book closed and shouted, "Get back to your desk, girl, if you can't even be bothered to listen." And I was a nervy 11-year-old, and I went back, never dared ask him a question ever again. And I dreaded maths all through school. But when it got to the last 2 years of school, I began to enjoy the lessons. And that was because the school came up with this new method of teaching maths, and that was open plan. And it meant that loads of us students sat at tables in this huge area, and the teachers were in stations around this large space. And I started to enjoy it because I could get away with doing nothing. No teacher could see what I was doing. I just copied off the girl next to me, and she copied off the girl next to her. I never did any homework, and I never handed anything in for the whole 2 years, and no teacher ever noticed. But those 2 years are the years when teachers, they repeat the mantra. You know the one. These exam results are really important. They will stay with you for the rest of your life. Well, I was having a good social time at school. I wasn't given the rest of my life much thought. And so you could probably predict that when I did my exams, age 16, my results were mediocre. And the maths result was a fail. And I left school at 16. And that summer, I kicked around, bored. having no clue what I wanted to do. My mother encouraged me to apply for some jobs, but no one employed me. And then come September, I enrolled on a secretarial course at the local tech. Had no interest in that, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. But after 2 years of doing that, I was employable. But the jobs that I got were low paid clerical jobs. And those words my teachers spoke started to make sense. Without maths, I was unable to get a job at, say, the local authority, a bank, a building society. I was stuck. And I moaned about this over many years with many colleagues and many coffee breaks. And then in one coffee break, me and my friend Carmel, we came up with this escape plan. She also failed maths, and we were both stuck in these awful jobs. But we decided that we would start applying for jobs and we'd just say that we'd pass maths. I mean, no one's going to check. So I saw a job advertised, shorthand typist for Her Majesty's Youth Probation Service. I sent off my letter of application and my newly edited CV with my secretarial qualifications, which were okay. And then I added maths grade C. A couple of days later, I was thrilled to skip into work to tell Carmel, I've got an interview at the probation office. Our cunning plan is working. So I went off for the interview, and it really was quite challenging. There was a panel of 8 people, and they asked me questions about my skill set, my work ethic, my plans for the future. So I must have done okay, because a couple of days later, an envelope plopped through my letterbox offering me the job. I was thrilled. I took the letter into work come coffee break time. I showed it to Carmel, who read it aloud in the coffee break room. We are delighted to offer you the post of shorthand typist at Her Majesty's Probation Office. Kindly forward to us copies of your qualifications, and upon receipt, we will give you a start date. Oh, crap. They want proof. Our cunning plan had come undone. Or had it? I went home and I found my school exam certificates to see that I had 2 certificates. One had English and pottery, which I had passed, and the other one, a list of other subjects, and that was the maths fail on that certificate. Now, remember, I had secretarial skills. So I took that certificate into work and I wound it into my electric typewriter. That's how long ago it was. And I was really careful to line up the margins and the spacing to get it exactly right, caps lock on, so as not to arise, suspicion. And then I typed mathematics and then space, 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 space to the grade column, and then C. Yes, C, that was believable. Let's not get carried away with an A. And I took the certificate out of the typewriter, showed it to Carmel for approval, and she looked. And she paused. You've spelt mathematics wrong. Oh, and out of embarrassment and anger, I snatched that certificate from her and I tore it up there and then, and I threw all the bits in the bin. And I sat back down at my typewriter to send a message, to type a letter to Her Majesty to say, because the probation office deals with young offenders who are feeling the consequences of their misdemeanors, to say, I am dreadfully sorry, but I'm unable to accept the position. And so I had to carry on doing those boring jobs for a few more years. I got married, I had my first baby, and my husband got a job abroad, and we started living this expat life. And I had many jobs in schools as a classroom assistant, watching teachers teach. And then I thought, that's what I want to do. But now I really had to get over this barrier of being bad at maths. And I enrolled at the local college, and they had a course specifically for adult maths phobics. There was a handful of us. Everyone had a story about the time something happened. But this time, the teacher instilled confidence in me. I was a good student. I did my homework, and I passed maths, grade C. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad that story had a happy ending indeed. Yeah. As someone who, yes, I was as shocked as anybody, I think, that I managed to get a C on my maths too. And what is really scary is that now I'm the one who has to handle the accounts for Feast. That really kind of gets me very worried.
It's still a challenge to me if I've got to do anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the story that you share about the teacher throwing the book down and just humiliating you. I tell a story about a boy, and again, just like you, looking out the window, and he's not paying attention. And the teacher says, "What's 3 + 3?" And of course, the boy doesn't know. And the teacher gets him up. This was in the good old days when they could cane you. And he makes the boy bend over. Thwack, thwack, thwack. How many is that? 3, sir. Very good. Thwack, thwack, thwack. How many is that? 3 more, sir. And what's the total? 6, sir. Good, you're learning. Those were the days. Yeah.
Yes.
So yes, but before we get into a sad story there, let's move on because I see it's is Shilpa up next then? Pretty. Thank you very much for joining us, Shilpa. You've been here telling stories before, haven't you, on several occasions? You're still muted. There you are.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Yes, Roger.
Very good, very good. And so have you got a traditional story, or is it one of your own stories?
Well, it's a folk tale.
It's a folk tale. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Well, we look forward. Let's see how you put a smile on our faces. Over to you.
Yes. So I hope the smile continues. Well, this is called Old One Eye. So long time ago, once there lived a woman, and she had saved all her money, and she had put all those gold coins in a leather pouch. And where did she keep that leather pouch? Oh, she had hid it somewhere. Now that was the news everywhere in the village. And every night, this old woman, she would sit on a rocking chair, rock, 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 and she would card the wool with those carding combs to smooth and use it for spinning. So every night she would sit there on her rocking chair and card the wool, click, clock, click, clock, click, clock. And when she would yawn 3 times, she would go up there near the chimney where she had hung a dried salted fish. She would take her butcher knife, cut a chunk of it, have it. That would be her midnight snack. And then she would go off to sleep. So that was her usual midnight routine. Now, when the news got around, so 3 robbers from the neighboring village thought, oh, well, we can take care of that leather pouch very well. So they decided to go and rob that old lady. So that night they went near her house, or rather her log cabin. So that was where she was staying. So at night, the chief, now this chief of the robbers, again, he was very special. He lost one of his eyes in an accident. And so that's why he was called as Old One-Eye Chief. So Old One-Eye Chief, he ordered one of his men to go up there on the hill and check whether that old lady has gone off to sleep. So the first man, he goes up there on that log hill, and there he tries to find a place where he can hide and just keep an eye on that old lady. So finally he finds a place, and there he tries to peep in, and he sees, oh, the old lady, she's still sitting on a rocking chair and carding the wool. Rocking and rocking, split, scratch, and click, clock, click, clock, and she yawned. Oh, that's the first one that has come. And if 2 more will come, then I'll take my butcher knife and I'll chomp it off. And now, let me tell you, this old lady, she had eaten so much of that dried fish that now only one eye was left of that fish. And so fondly, this old lady used to call her one-eye fish. And the moment this robber, he heard this, he quickly ran down. Chief, chief, she's a witch, she's a witch. She just saw me right across. And she said, that's the first one that has come. And if two more will come, I will take my butcher knife and I will chomp off. Oh God, chief, I think we should run. Oh, that's not the case. You are simply scared. Now you go. So he sends the second one to spy on that old lady. The second one goes up there and he finds the same place, which was near her chimney. And he goes and he peeps. And the old lady, well, she was still sitting on her rocking chair. Screech, scratch, screech, scratch, screech, scratch, and calling, click, clock, click, clock, click. And soon she yawned. And she said, that's the second one that has come. Now, if the third one will come, I'll take my butcher knife and chomp you off. You remember? Old one eye. And this robber, oh God, even he got scared and he ran quickly. Chief, chief, he's right. She's a witch, she's a witch. She saw just cross me and she said, that this is the second one that has come. And if the third one will come, I will take my butcher knife and I'll just chop them off. I think we should run. Oh, come on, both of you are so scared. Be here. Let me go and check. So now this chief, he goes up to the hill. There, he finds the place and he even finds the same place. And he goes there and he peeps through that hole. And what did he see? Well, the old woman was still sitting there on a rocking chair, screech, scratch, and cutting the hole, click, clock, click, clock, click, clock, and soon she yawned. And she said, now that's the third one that has come tonight. So now I think it's the time to take my butcher knife and chomp you off, you one-eyed. Wait, and I'm coming. She gets up from her rocking chair and starts walking towards the chimney. And the old-eyed chief, he got so scared, and he thought, oh my God, she's coming to kill me. And he quickly runs down the hill and he says, yes, you both were right. She's a witch. She just saw right through me. And you know what? She even knew my name. She said, now that's the third one that has come. And now I'll take the butcher knife and I'll chomp you off, you old one. I think run. Let's run for our lives. Come on, men. And the three men, they ran as fast as their robbers' legs could take them, never to come back. And this old lady, she goes to a chimney and she takes a butcher knife, takes off a chunk, chomps it off, and goes off to her bed to sleep soundly. Thank you.
Thanks very much indeed. Yes. Yeah, I think there are quite a number of those kinds of stories, aren't there, where people misunderstand. Usually it's thieves and they're misunderstanding what they're hearing. And of course, immediately, as soon as you tell a story about one eye, I'm immediately thinking about the ghost with one black eye. That's also a very funny story, very good for Halloween too. Thank you for sharing that one, Shilpa. Very nice indeed. Very good. So Adele, thank you for joining us. Tell us, where are you logging in from?
I'm here in Boca Raton, Florida, South Florida, USA.
Wonderful.
And it's only not even 8 o'clock in the morning here.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you've had your at least your morning coffee, if not your breakfast.
No, too early. A little bit too early for me. Yeah.
And let me ask you, how did you find out about the swap?
I've been getting the email about the feast story swaps for a while, and I've been on at least one time listening.
Oh,
So I
excellent.
decided this time I would come on and
Well, that's fantastic. Okay, so tell us, is your story a traditional American story, or?
no, my story is a personal story of something that happened to me quite a while ago, but it is a story about how a certain incident will change the course of your life and your career.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to hearing it. Over to you.
Okay. Well, here in the United States, we have a song called The Farmer in the Dell, but I call it The Farmer and Adele because that's me. So here we go. The farmer and Adele, the farmer and Adele. Hi ho the dairy-o, the farmer and Adele. Well, I was a college graduate and I hooked up with a farmer and we moved to a little place in South Carolina, USA. And we like to say this place in Sumter, South Carolina, was where the Civil War started and
Yes.
is still being fought today. At any rate, I'm a city girl, and here I am on the farm, and it was the mid 70s. So we were doing a back to the earth movement, and I came to the little farm and planted some peppers and some tomatoes that I had started in the little garden. And then the farmer and I went to the feed store and we bought ourselves some chickens. And because I was a Montessori teacher, I color coded everything. So, of course, my baby chicks had to be color coded. I picked little black male chicks that were going to be the Rhode Island red roosters. I had come from the state of Rhode Island, so that was homage to my state. And then my hens were going to be white Plymouth Rock hens, and so they were yellow chicks, but they would grow up to be white. Now, I have to mention at this point, anytime I'm talking to people about and they're complaining about their jobs, I remind them that there's actually a job where people look at baby chicks, they look at their little bottoms to find out if they're boys or girls, and they put them in these drawers that you pull out. The little male chicks are in one drawer and little female chicks are in another drawer. So I never complain about my job because I think about that job and then I don't complain about jobs. Yeah. At any rate, so we had our chicks, our color-coded chicks, and now we were going to have some goats. So we started looking for some goats so we could milk goats. And I found a goat and I named her Georgia Girl after the English movie called Georgia Girl.
All right.
And I got my goat, and she was pregnant. We intentionally bought a pregnant goat so we would have, some baby kids. So we're going on about different things. Charles had been talking about buying rabbits, and we were getting things ready. And so our chickens had grown up a little bit. And I also sewed, and I made curtains for the house. And I bought a brand new pair of pinking shears. And I was doing things like rolling his cigarettes with tobacco and paper at the time. We did everything from scratch, And one day I look out the window and there's our chickens, which had grown pretty quickly. And they were flying out of a little tiny chicken house into the yard that had been fenced with chicken wire. And one chicken comes flying out and then another chicken comes flying out. And I went out there to see what he was doing. Well, he was in the little chicken house with our 12 hens and 2 roosters. And he was cutting their wings because they had been flying up into the trees to sleep at night. And we had lost one of the chickens to a predator. And the following morning, we just found a pile of feathers. So I watch him come out of there And he's got this big pair of shears, and I'm looking at them, and they were my fabric pinking shears, which are only allowed to be used on fabric. And he was the kind of guy that never let me touch any of his tools, and I was quite angry about that. But at any rate, pinking shears. So one morning I wake up in my little farmhouse. My little 5-year-old daughter is there, and I look out the window. I didn't have my glasses on, and I see little things hopping around in the backyard. This was on March 4th. And I'm like yelling to Charles, the farmer, "Hey, did you buy those rabbits you've been talking about?" And he yells back, "No." And that's when I realized we had baby kids. I put on my glasses, I grab my daughter, run down the stairs in my nightgown and out the door, and there is my goat Georgie girl with not one, not two, but 3 baby kids. Now, goats are, if anybody's had goats, they're kind of like dogs. When you come home, they come to greet you. They're happy to see you. So my goat was very happy to see me because she was going to get some food. And because she had given birth, I gave her a special treat and brought her warm water and her usual breakfast of grains. And then my daughter and I sat on the stoop, the cement stoop in the back of the farmhouse, and I stared at this goat and I thought to myself, human beings pay lots of money, go to a hospital, have a doctor with all his training, and they give birth to one little tiny baby. That was me. I gave birth to one little 7-pound baby. And here is my goat that had triplets. Now, I should mention that being college educated, I had prepared myself for the birth of these baby goats by reading a book called Goat Husbandry. The Goat Husbandry book had recommended this: if you don't know what you're doing, leave the goat alone because she does know what she's doing. So that turned out to be true. The goat had given birth to triplets, and the babies were running around the yard and doing their little goat things. And anytime the babies cried, the mom would run to them and feed them. So I started contemplating, what is going on with this, with humans having such a hard time giving birth? And here this goat had 3 babies without even any help. And that was an interesting experience because the very next year, I met a British woman who had a book called The Book of Midwifery. It's the standard textbook in England for midwives. And she let me borrow it, and I read it from cover to cover. And the following year, I enrolled in a course of midwifery in the state of Texas here in the United States. To this date, I've delivered 1,300 babies, human babies, and I also had several experiences with animals. The goat that had triplets, another set of rabbits that had a number of babies. My friend called me one morning saying her friend, who was a cat expert, was going to come when her first cat was giving birth to kittens, but she had not arrived in town yet. And she asked me, could I come and help with the cat birth? And I did that. That cat also had triplets. And then one day I got invited to a horse that was having a foal, also on a farm nearby here. So you never know what kind of experience. You can start off on the farm and you can have a goat change the course of your career and cause you to become a midwife. The farmer and Adele, the farmer and Adele, hi ho the dairy-o, the farmer and Adele.
Wow. Wonderful, wonderful, Adele. What a great story. 1,300 kids. That's amazing. Wow. What a career.
1,303 kids.
1,303. Wow. Fantastic. Fantastic. And I think I see Lesley now smiling. Also, you put a smile on her face because she realised out of all the shit jobs she ended up doing, she never had to hold up chickens and look at their bottoms to see whether they were male or female. I think that's probably gone on my list of a job that I'm very glad that I never was offered when I was looking for work after I finished school. Thank you very much indeed, Adele. Great fun, great fun. So very good. Hi, Renu. Glad to have you back here. Tell everybody where you're speaking to us from.
Yes. Can you hear me?
You're a bit soft.
Can you hear me now?
That's better, yes.
Okay. I'm from Chennai. I'm a storyteller from Chennai. And I was a member of Feast from 2019 to 2020, then again 22 to 23. Now I'm again a member of Feast and I'm here to stay.
Well, that's very good. I'm glad you keep kind of coming back to us again and again and again. That's very good. So so tell us, where's your story from? Is it a personal story or is it a traditional story?
No, it's a fictional story.
Okay, very good. Well, we're looking forward to that. Adele's was all smiling, and I'm glad to see you smiling as well. So off you go.
Okay, thank you. Sam had been driving non-stop for the last 10 hours. His stomach was grumbling and his bladder was full. Not a good combination at all. He had been desperately looking out for a diner since lunchtime. His last stop had been for breakfast at 8 o'clock. Now the evening was slipping into darkness and he was getting frustrated. His muscles were dying for a good stretch. But there was not a single light ahead. The road was long and lonely. The last human company he had was about a couple of hours ago when two trucks had trundled past, tooting a greeting. He had tooted back, but now he was tired, he was hungry, and there's nothing in sight. And just as he turned the bend, there were the welcome lights of the diner. He quickly pulled over into the lay-by, which was right next to the diner. He jumped off the high truck, stretched himself, and then went towards the washroom. Once he had relieved himself, he washed his hands at the wash basin, then walked into the glass door and pushed the glass door open of the diner and walked inside. The diner was fairly empty, and there was just a lone waitress. He went across to her and said, "What do you have to eat?" And she said, "Well, there are cheeseburgers, there are French fries, there's coffee if you wish, and there's some apple pie." "All right," he said. "I'll have a slice of apple pie, I'll have a cheeseburger, and I'll have a hot cup of coffee." "Right you are," said the waitress. "Why don't you go and sit down?" The truck driver, Sam, slid his tall, sinewy body into one of the chairs at the table right next to the door. He sat and waited for his meal to arrive. Soon the waitress was back with nice, fat, juicy cheeseburger, a steaming hot cup of coffee, and a huge slice of apple pie. Sam watched the meal with his eyes, and just as he was about to eat, the door was pushed open, bells jangling, and three hairy, huge bikers walked in. They went straight across to Sam's table. One of them picked up the cheeseburger and finished it in 2 bites. The other picked up the apple pie and with a gulp it was gone. The third just finished the coffee in 2 seconds. And they watched Sam to see how he would react. Sam just looked at them and then gestured to the waitress. She came by. "Give me my check, please," he said. The waitress gave him his check. He paid for it, slid past the 3 men, and walked out of the door into the darkness. The 3 men sat down. "Not much of a man, is he?" said to the waitress. The waitress ignored them. She had her hands on her hips, and she was looking out of the glass window at the brightly lit outdoor area. "He's not much of a driver either," she said. "He just drove over 3 bikes with his 16-wheeler truck." And that's my story.
Yeah. I like the delivery of the punchline. Yeah, not much of a driver. Very nice. Very good. As I said, yeah, I mean, we rarely get to tell jokes, do we, as part when we're doing like a storytelling program? But I mean, why not? Uh, they're short and they're punchy and can also make a very good contrast with the rest of the program. Thanks for that one. So who have we got next? So Ratty, good, 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 good. So are your students still there, or have you sent them home? They're still there. Okay. So and you've primed them ready to join in and shout and cheer, or maybe they'll kind of photo bomb you and just kind of come behind you as you're telling. Okay.
Right. Yeah, they are here and they keep clapping hands.
Very good, very good. So you're speaking to us from Jakarta.
Yep.
Very good, very good. Well, so is your story a traditional Indonesian story?
Yep. It's actually, I wrote the story myself.
Ah,
And it's based on the trending thing that happened in my country.
okay. Well, we'll look forward to hearing it. Over to you.
All right. All right. Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear my voice loud and clear.
Yep, very good.
Okay. All right. So basically, this story began from a trend happening in my country. Yes, Indonesia, a beautiful one in the middle of the equator line. So here there was a trend to make parody by doing word blending. So this parody is often done in a form of dialogue. And the parody itself often appeared when someone is brokenhearted. Yeah. So one example, when someone who has just broken up with his or her special one will say like this, how do we call a baby's food? Bubaria. Well, and then the other will reply, bubur bro or bubur sis. Why? Because here the word bubar means breaking up, while the actual answer of the baby's food is bubur, which means porridge. And that's how the story happened. So, by the way, these word blending things could be annoying when you really want to ask about a real thing. So the story is like this. So there was a boy named Julkipli. Well, Julkipli was actually a funny boy who has always been cheerful. But what one bad thing about him was that he was a playboy who had lots of girlfriends. But just yesterday, he broke up with his the most special girlfriend. And that made him felt gloomy the whole day. The bad thing was he wanted to make all his colleagues at the office pitied him because he has a broken heart. So when he went to the office that day, he worked as usual, but he kept asking about things and made those things into word blending. First, he said like this, I forgot to put my, how do we call something we keep in the computer? Failed, isn't it? His colleague said, file, Ju, file, it's file, not failed. Next, he said to another friend, hey, do you know what should we put on the wall over there? Betrayed, right? His friends, of course, frowned her eyebrows and said, it's a portrait, too. Portrait. What's happening with you? Said. But Julkipli made a long face and went away. Not very long from there, his friends became more and more annoyed. Why? Because he kept saying things blended. He called his friend, hey, bitter. Peter. Actually, the name of the friend was Peter. And then when the people keep talking about one Disney movie, is it, oh yeah, I've watched that Broken film over and over again. Yeah, I know it's, yeah, I really like Olaf in Broken. Keep saying that. Broken or Frozen. And when the boss talked about the famous arcade here called Time Zone, to be true, he said, oh yeah, boss, but please be careful when you play with the friend zone. Friend zone. And then the boss kept, what's wrong? What's so wrong with this Jewel Ghibli? The last thing he asked about this thing, how do you call that thick blanket? Quit, isn't it? And everyone, they say, quilt, Jewel Ghibli. It's quilt. So his friends got really, really annoyed. So that when Jewel Ghibli wanted to ask him one more thing, and actually this one is the real thing, they asked him back, oh, Jewel, do you know what they greet a friend who is a real player and that just broken up and keeps annoying others? Do you know how do they call him or her? Jewel Ghibli thought and, no, what's that? Hello, Pity. And then Jewel startled and realized that he had annoyed his friends so much, so that they called him Hello Pity rather than Hello Kitty. That's the story.
Thank you. It sounds like you could adapt this idea for your teaching, actually, isn't it? Is that you
That's
could
right.
make mistakes and say the wrong word, and you get your students, tell them that's going to be their homework. There you are. Okay, you could set them as an assignment that they've got to go away and think of, like, what is the wrong word, what is the right word, and then they can come back and they could try that word, as you call it, word blending, okay,
Yes.
at their next class. There you are. I've set you their homework. Okay, I can't see them, but they're probably all groaning and moaning in the background. Okay, you don't want to see that guy Roger again. It's so cruel.
Yeah. So you heard him. This will be the homework.
Absolutely. It's interesting. We were talking earlier, Ratih, about the conference, and because we're going to be in South Korea, where learning English is a really big concern, and of course we think storytelling is a wonderful way in order to teach that. So in fact, several of the workshops that we are going to be presenting during the conference, I'm saying this to everybody else who's listening, will be addressing aspects of this and sharing lots of different ideas of games and strategies that you can use when you are telling stories, or if you are using story as a way to develop people's language skills who are perhaps using English as a second language. So thanks very much for that, Ratih. Now we're going over to England, and how appropriate that we've been talking about language when you are sort of almost, I won't say rubbing shoulders with the ghost of William Shakespeare, but, at least his spirit must be floating around there somewhere. Yes, Ernie?
Hello there. I am Erin the Wizard.
Oh.
Actually, I'm Ernie from Kenilworth. And if you'd like to know more about Kenilworth, just go on to Google. But for today, I am Erin the Wizard. And I command you all to turn on your audio. Have you heard of Otto, the Headless Knight of Kenilworth Castle?
No, I haven't.
Roger,
No, I haven't.
You haven't heard? That's a good job, Roger, because I've just made it up. Have you heard of the headless knight of Kenilworth Castle? Otto was a knight. He was strong. He was brave. He was handsome, just like me. But he had a problem. He fell in love with a very beautiful woman. Unfortunately, it was the king's wife. And the king did not take kindly to men falling in love with his wife. So he cut off Otto's head and stuck it under his arm. And he said to Otto, you must walk the streets of Kenilworth, Leamington, Warwick, Jakarta, Texas, until somebody smiles at you. Pretty? Well, would you smile at a man whose head is under his arm? Would any of you smile at a man whose head is under his arm? Well, nobody did. And so for 200 years, Otto walked the streets of Kenilworth, Leamington, Warwick, Jakarta, and Texas, until he came into my house. And I heard him climbing the stairs. And when he came to the top of the stairs, I saw Otto. And Otto saw me. And when I saw Otto, and when Otto saw me, the problem was when Otto went, his head rolled right under Roger's feet. Now, my daughter heard the commotion and she came running out and she saw the head lying under Roger's feet. And she smiled. Roger? Hello?
Yes.
Would you smile at a man whose head is right under your feet?
No.
Uh-huh. Well, my daughter smiled. And guess what? The head smiled back. So she picked the head up and she put it back on the shoulders. But she hadn't put her glasses on. So his nose pointed that way, his eyes went that way, and his ears pointed that way. But she smiled. How many of you would smile at a man whose nose looks like that? How many of you would smile at a man whose eyes go like that? How many of you would smile at a man whose ears went like that? Perhaps you already had with your partners. But she smiled, and Otto smiled back, and then Otto disappeared. And from that day to this, he rests happily under the ground of Kenilworth Castle. And so if any of you ever managed to come to England and come to Kenilworth Castle, just to keep an eye out for Otto, the headless knight, and Erin, the wizard of Kenilworth Castle. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And please thank your daughter for removing the head from under my feet. Okay.
Absolutely, sir.
Great. Yeah. So be warned, if you're going to fall in love with somebody, make sure you don't fall in love with the king's wife, presumably the queen. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. I've heard of falling head over heels, but never falling head over
Yeah.
shoulders. There it goes. There it goes. So, who have you got? Thanks very much indeed. So, Pretty, who have you got lined up for us now? You've been doing an excellent job of keeping me surprised and streaming. Well. Hello. So, particular, I mentioned right at the start how I'd been lured to go and watch this comedy show on Sunday that featured a host of Indian storytellers, comedians, improvisers, puppeteers, and Pretty was one of them. So, are you going to improvise a story again? Are we going to improvise a story together, or are you actually going to tell us a story that you know what I'm
I
looking
think I had come prepared with the story, but I liked Ernie the Wizard and the Kenworth Castle, so I might try some improv.
for? Okay, so and just tell everybody, Pretigaya, where are you speaking to us from?
Hi, everybody. I'm Pretigaya Haran from Chennai, India.
Also in Chennai, right? An absolute hotbed of storytelling, if ever there was one. So go on, over to you, girl.
Thank you, Roger. So, yes, picking up right where Ernie left. At the Kenworth Castle, there were 300 rooms. The king and the queen snored in their bed. Ernie, the wizard, snored in his high castle just outside or a little away from the castle. And Princess Fifi snored in her tiny little princess's bed. Only Bella, the maid or the helper, was awake because she had to sweep each of the 300 rooms and then light the fire. So she opened the cupboard under the stairs, took one bristly broom and tucked it under one shoulder. She picked up a baby sleepy dragon. Yes, you heard it right. A dragon, and tucked it under the other. Swish went her broom, cleaning up the rooms. Went the dragon, lighting up the rooms. 299 rooms were cleaned. And finally, Bella arrived at Fifi's. She looked all around and she grumbled, "Oh, I hate this room. Look at all the mess. There are clothes all over. How do I sweep this room?" Poor Bella. She had to tidy up all the clothes, quietly sweep, and then light the fire. And just when she was about to tiptoe out of the room, "Good morning," trilled Princess Fifi. She stretched her hand out and picked up the golden bell from the bedside table. "Dang, dang, 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 dang." "Strawberry juice," she demanded, and thump, she dropped the bell right there by the bed. Strawberry juice arrived. Glug, 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 glug. She finished it and thoop, dropped the glass on the bed. "Dressing gown," she sang, and she jumped out of the bed, wore her fluffy slippers, and went up to the wardrobe. What do I wear today? The pink one? Nah. The yellow one? Nah. The purple? Red? Nah, 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 nah. She put every single gown and dropped it in a heap by the wardrobe until she found the perfect one, the golden lace one. "I will wear this today." She went to the washroom, cleaned her face, wiped it with a towel, rolled it, and zoop, threw it right under the bed. She went to the window, brushed her hair, and looked outside. Aha! Wonderful day for roller skating. And sweep, threw her brush out of the window. She picked up those skates from the shelf, and just when she was about to go, she realized, oh, I'm running late for breakfast. And thud, she dropped them right there on the rug and zoop, went out. Poor Bella. She had to pick the bell and the glasses, pick up all the clothes, put them back in the wardrobe, and as she bent down to pick the towel from under the bed, what? Thud! She landed on the ground, skidded on the skates,
Oh, I hate this room, she wailed. Princess Fifi had a very busy day that day. You see, she had to eat her toast, try on new clothes, read her favorite book, eat some chocolates, go roller skating, try on some more new clothes, go for tennis, and a very, very busy day. Poor Bella. She had an even busier day, picking up the toasts, the chocolate wrappers, the clothes, the books, and all the 100 other things which Fifi threw all around. By lunchtime, she was tired and exhausted. She went up to the kitchen table and she grumbled, "Oh, I've had enough. I don't know what to do. Princess Fifi never tidies up." There were 3 people at the table. Jack the helper, he said, "I know what you should do. You should pile up all her things in a heap and get the dragon to light a fire." Bella smiled. "That sounds... No, I will get into trouble. I can't do that." The cook suggested, "Why don't you speak to Princess Fifi? Tell her, maybe she'll stop." "I have tried that, but that doesn't help." That's when Ernie the wizard came and he suggested, "I have a suggestion. Do you have a spell which we can cast and she will start tidying up?" "Nah, I have an idea." As he whispered the idea in Bella's ears, Bella was listening carefully, and a smile broke on her lips. The next morning, when the sun came upon the Kenworth castle, Princess Fifi woke up again. "Good morning." She yawned and she stretched her hand to pick up the bell, and oh, what is my sock doing here? Where's my bell? Bella was in the room and she said, "Your bell is by the windowsill where it is meant to be." "Windowsill? No." Fifi jumped out of the bed when, ouch! What is my hairbrush doing here? Where are my fluffy slippers? The fluffy slippers, they are in the wash basin where they are meant to be. No, she rushed to the wash basin. Oh, my favorite slippers are wet and soggy. Wait a minute. Where's my toothbrush? The toothbrush is in the wardrobe. That's where it's meant to be, right? No. She went to the wardrobe, she opened it, and whoa! A whole lot of bread rolls fell onto her. "Bread rolls? Where are my clothes?" "Your clothes," said Bella. "They are by the flower pot." "What are they doing by the flower pot?" She went there and she looked at her clothes and she realized, "I'm running late for my breakfast. I need to pick my clothes." But Bella, what is wrong with you? Why are you putting things all over the place? "Am I putting things all over the place? I didn't realize. You see, yesterday I fell down, and ever since I think I've been forgetting things. Aren't the clothes meant to be by the flower pot?" "No, they are not meant to be by the flower pot. I'll tell you. Look very carefully. See, the bell goes by the table, the slippers go under the bed, the toothbrush goes here, the clothes go here." And Fifi explained and put every little thing back. "Ah, is that so?" said Bella. "Oh, I'm running late for breakfast." She picked a handful of dressing gowns, threw them in a heap, picked the final one that she wanted, and just when she was about to go out, Bella said, "Oh, I will just take these clothes and bury them in the garden." As she walked towards the garden, Fifi rushed and she grabbed the clothes back and she said, "No, no, 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 no. They don't go there. I'll show you where they go." And she quickly put them back in the wardrobe. You can imagine, Bella had a very busy day that day. She had to put Princess Fifi's toast in the bathtub, her ribbons in the flower pot, her favorite book in the dog kennel, her chocolates, a box of chocolates in the staircase cupboard. A lot of things she had to put all around the house. And Fifi, poor thing, had an extra busy day because her toast had become as wet and soggy as her ribbons. Her jigsaw puzzle was in the oven and burned to cinders. Her favorite book had doggy dribble and pug marks on it. The box of chocolates, she found it empty with just the chocolate wrappers in the cupboard under the stairs with a very happy dragon right beside it. Oh, I've had enough, said Fifi as she poured the favorite cocoa out of the roller skates. Bella, aren't you feeling better yet? No, not really. How long will this take? I don't know. Maybe for the next few weeks, if you teach me where every single thing goes, I will learn it up. Few more weeks? Ah. Fifi fell asleep right there on her bed. Bella looked around. A neat and clean princess's room. A spick and span princess's room. And as she tiptoed out of the room, she had a glint in her eyes and a naughty grin on her face. Thank you very much.
Oh, very nice. What a chaotic day indeed. And funnily enough, I'm just thinking, as we've had two stories about Kenilworth Castle, or at least taking place there, one of the things that we do, one of the games that we've just started playing in Plotluck, it's a Feast original, and which we shall probably showcase. It'll make its debut on the, when is it, the 20th of this month, just another 10 days. Feast has set up its, sorry?
Details in the chat.
In the chat, thank you very much. Is that we have set up now, because we're doing our conferences, we also have our own travel agency that's story themed. So basically, you suggest where you'd like to go on a holiday, such as, the castle where Beauty and the Beast met, and we will create a holiday for you, a particular vacation package. So that's something. As I was just thinking, Pretigaya, that Kenilworth Castle, complete with its own headless ghost and these crazy spells and whatever, and
don't forget the wizard.
And a wizard, exactly, would be a perfect place for us to tour. And it would throw in that we could go to the UK, which would be a nice change for us here. Perhaps we could get Sheila to do some groundwork before she comes back on Sunday. So thank you very much. I think, Pretty, that actually brings us to the end of the slate of tellers. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
For today. So thank you very much for everybody. What else have we got to look forward to? On the 29th, it's Just Tell again. And it's something I keep banging this drum. I just think Just Tell is one of the best things that Feast has to offer. It's always very personal and intimate. We've never got to the stage where we've had more than enough people to tell. But because we've said that anybody who wants to tell will tell, and if it means we have to go into breakout rooms so that everybody gets a chance to share to a smaller group of people, that's what we'll do. But it's a wonderful opportunity, and I'm thinking particularly if there's anybody here, or if you've got a story that you're working on and that isn't polished and you don't feel is ready to kind of put out there to a full audience, Just Tell is an ideal, supportive and encouraging space to do so. And then if you want feedback, then you're very welcome to ask for it. And perhaps before you do that, you might want to just go and have a look on the Just Tell page. There's a wonderful clip taken from Kendall Haven's excellent learning capsule that he did at the start of the year. My goodness me, only 4 or 5 months ago. It seems a long time ago, but it was only in January. And he talks about how you should, the kind of questions, how you can get the kind of feedback that you're looking for. It was very insightful 2-minute answer to a question that Kevin Cordy posed during the webinar. So thank you very much, everybody. Can we give a big round of applause to all our tellers this evening, okay, for putting a smile on our face. And I think particularly to the two personal stories that we had in terms of realizing that maths isn't the necessarily the be-all and end-all of life, and that just be grateful that you, as I say, that you haven't got a job having to sex chickens. Thank you very much, Adele, for your story too. That was great. We look forward to seeing everybody back again, possibly some of you at Just Tell later this month.